Greetings. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight, working to get us in a good viewpoint that doesn't give us bad lighting. So, our focus today is taking a look at one of the key analysts regarding why it is Tesla stock price is down $6 today, and then we'll sort of tag in our perception of what might be going on. So just a reminder, please take time to like and subscribe. And once again, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Special shout out to our Patreon supporters. Your support is greatly appreciated, etc. So where we are right now is that there are some questions that are popping on Tesla. The main question right now is, will Tesla have to do a series of price reductions to actually move vehicles? And if those reductions, A, have already occurred, and B, more of them are down the line, how will that affect Tesla's profit margin and profits? And if those profit margins and profits are declining, that's a sign that we might end up seeing a decline in the stock price, because what determines the stock price is the growth rate of the company, both revenue and profit. If you're growing revenue, but your profit is also shrinking, that also sort of creates issues, shall we say, which is why we saw the dip in the stock price today. There's a question that's out there that we're going to find out on the 18th that also is sort of interesting, which is, are Tesla's economies of scale allowing it to reduce price but not give away the shop in terms of their profit margins? And if that's the case, then everything that people are worried about right now will not be an issue. The other thing I was thinking about with this is the fact that, so let's say you cut, let's say, prices by 20%, as Tesla has done. And not only did you cut the price, but you also increase, let's say, revenue by 20%. Now what happens is that, yeah, we have a lower profit margin, but because you increase the number of vehicles sold, your earnings are still on an upward trajectory relative to where it was. So this is a question that's sitting out there that's an unknown, but when we're delivering, numbers that are about in line with what was expected, and you're expecting, perhaps more in this manner, then this also confirms that we're in sort of a tough earnings growth zone for the company, and therefore affecting the stock price. So what I wanted to review today is just the fact that until we see cyber and the semi and other things coming on, this could be a difficult conundrum for Tesla to work out. But as you know, all these new products facilitate the company actually doing great relative to the metrics that I just described to you. So I would say that the analysts' concerns seem kind of valid. As I shared with you, we had an A, B, and C level that we're assigning to Tesla. What we got was a B, not necessarily a C, but the analysts seem to be suggesting Tesla kind of gets a C, not because the profit margin's already getting slashed severely, but that in order to push the numbers of in the production zone along far enough, we may have to see a sort of further reduction in price, and that further reduction heads us into a slippery slope of Tesla and the entire industry being negatively impacted by these lower prices. So again, what we find out on the 18th of April will answer all of these questions about where Tesla currently is and headed. It'd be helpful if Elon really dug into this portion to help everybody have a good grasp. But I would say that there's legitimate concern out there, And that concern is highlighted by the decline in stock price. And as you know, we thought that we'd have to wait a few days before we really got a sense for how analysts were viewing this, and therefore the hit to the stock, if there was going to be one. Right now, we've got one or two analysts that have weighed in on what they think is going on, and that's obviously weighed on the stock price. We're also looking forward to finding out, well, what is it, what are the other analysts saying about this, and what's the basis for their arguments? And that sort of tells us in the next couple of days what we might expect to see from the large institutions that they advise. But for now, I'd have to say that there's a legitimate question on the table. That question is, what happens if Tesla has to continue to lower prices as a way to spur demand, and those lower prices give us more revenue, but also gives us lower per vehicle profits, and those lower profits result in a lower stock price, ultimately, is sort of where we're looking right now. Now, again, if we could get Cybertrucks rolling at a decent clip in the next few months, /semi rolling at a decent clip, I think we could make up for a lot of the shortcomings that I've described, but there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency about delivery of these vehicles, and hopefully, we see a change in this outlook. So what do I think about his analysis? I think it's valid. I mean, you reduce price on your number one vehicle by 20%, both in all the markets. There was a spur in demand, but we still had 20,000 vehicles. 421 was delivered, 440 produced. So there could be vehicles in transit. There are other things that could be happening. But in essence, it doesn't sound robust. What do I mean by robust? As you know, there's a concept called the whisper number. What's the whisper number? Well, there's the forecasted number that analysts might have for how many vehicles a company might deliver. There's also a term called the whisper number, which is, well, what if they did 20, 30, 50,000 more vehicles, both production and sales, than all of us had forecasted? When you do stuff like that, that's when you get a nice bump in the stock price, because it shows that production is up to snuff, number one, and it also shows that demand is there still, etc. So I have to say that my total take on this is that I can't argue that the logic is sound. The only argument I can make is if we could get some production going in other realms. The one other question that's lurking for me is, why not send a bunch of cars to Australia? That'd be kind of cool, because there's still a lot of demand there, and you can sort of mop it up by maybe putting out a factory that's in a tent or something, or do something to spur production and sales in markets where there's huge demand. So we shall see how Elon answers these questions when they come up, and what the true numbers are to back up. I'd have to say there's a warning here, which is if he comes back and the profit margin has dropped from 25%-ish to 15 or 18%-ish or something low, that could also spur a further dip in the stock price, simply because they're not seeing the earnings growth that they need to maintain a fairly high stock price. At any rate, we look forward to your comments on this, and please take time to like and subscribe. For our health tip today, I just wanted to remind you, we often cover how to manage your eating to make sure that you have an enjoyment of adult one-on-one activities. And that is to make sure no more than a salad or something light. It allows the blood flow to go to other places rather than just your stomach, and therefore prompting more enjoyment in the process. Any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss German or au revoir French, Lehithro, Hebrew, Chodahev is Farsi, Staraziche Russian, Ni hao ma, Chinese, Konbanwa, Japanese, Arrivederci. And in Jamaica we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us, have a great day, and bye for now.